What's going on, everybody? One second. I always forget to do that. What's going on, everybody? Y'all know who this is. Michael T. Johnson II here with Faithful and Fresh. Turn my volume up a little bit. How y'all feeling? How y'all living? Camera 2, we locked in. How y'all feeling, man? Whether you are from YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, let yourself be seen. Say what up. Say something in the chat. Let people know that you were locked in. Shout out to everybody on Instagram. See you, Lily, Kaylee, X. Oh, man, you know what's so crazy? I got 2 Xaviers in here right now. That's crazy. That's crazy work. It's crazy work. Man, well, I'm not going to hold you too long as all the other people in church that get in front of a mic say. Don't you hate when people be like 2 minutes on the remarks and then they end up talking long as they just want to. Long as they want to. For some reason, I'm trying to work and get my chat on my box. Good. Today we are going into a whole new stratosphere. If you know me, you know I like talking about winning. You know I like talking about aspects of life and how to master you, how to master your ability to look at life through the lenses of God, if possible, to understand how to see your situations that you go through to work for you instead of a situation happening to you. My life is that type of mindset and posture so that I can make sure I can keep enjoying. Man, it's crazy that this is not working, y'all. But nevertheless, this is kind of somewhat a message that might be a little bit more for those that might be either entrepreneurs, those that might be under the age of 30. But if you're a little bit older than that, like me, it's still relative because technology has been continuing to advance, and it's no secret anymore. It's no secret that as technology is continuing to come out at such a rapid pace, why is it not allowing me to have this chat box? Let me see. And because social media is continuing to advance and there's so much of it, what some people used to use in technology is now becoming a lot more of a public deal. So how does this end up going into what I'm about to talk about? This is the second fly that I've had somehow come up into my studio, and it's so effing annoying. It's so annoying. But right before I get into it, the fragrance of the day is none other than Louis Vuitton Imagination. Me wearing this off-white suit, cream, whatever you want to call it, ivory. Such a summer look, wide lapels, open dress shirt. I had to go with Imagination because it's just such a summer fit fragrance. This candle is, again, the saffron and amber. I got a couple amber scented candles in the background. And then I have to be able to go ahead and say this shout out. My wife, if you do not already follow her, it's Ariel_Johnson5. And then on Facebook, Ariel. For all these people that call my wife Ariel, it's Ariel, R-E-L, like 3 letters. And she's been juicing for our household, but then she leveraged the opportunity and was wanting to help other people out with cleansing, hydration, immune system support. So I have this right here that I have in my mason jar. This is a apple juice, and those that have drunk this, they know that her apple juice is very, very hard to beat. So all natural, no preservatives, no BS. So I want to say that. Also, I want to shout out to my daughter, Marielle. She just finished this program that's called Safety City here in the city that I live in, and she just graduated. And of course, I can't forget my baby. Her birthday is tomorrow, Macy. So I did my fatherly duties and husband duties right there. All right, look. No, I'm just playing. But let's get straight to it. So if you are reading the title, you see the title if it shows in whatever capacity, whether depending on where you're at. It is G.P.T versus G.O.D. Now, some people might not be familiar with what this G.P.T thing stands for, and that's okay. It's okay. You're not silly for not knowing where these three letters come from. But where it comes from is this technology tool that has been used in so many different ways now, and you guys know it to be called Chat GPT. All right. Now, if you don't know what G.O.D stands for, it's just something going on, y'all. If y'all don't know what GPT is, if you don't know what G.O.D is, man, we just kind of got somewhat of a little issue. But let me move this over so I can keep, because IG is going a little bit more crazier. How do I move? And now, of course, I done did that. It's just not allowing me to do it. I can't keep. Oh, yes, I can. There it is. I'm able to see my Instagram chat because that's coming up different. But yeah. So in this 21st century, and this is so crazy. I think that I have a. I think I got a. How should I say this? Like, I remember when Kobe, which is one of my favorite players of all time, I remember he had some type of nose injury, face injury, eye injury, something like that. And he had to wear a mask. And then it was like the mask, Mamba, and then it was no mask. But I think I got this thing now where I got like the yellow notes, the yellow notes, and then I got my notes that I do on my iPad. And I think because when I'm able to write, it allows me to just kind of do a lot of extra side stuff that allows me to just kind of free think. And so I need to actually get the iPad pen. That might actually help. But yeah, so with ChatGPT, if you don't know what it is a artificial intelligence that is used through prompting to do a bunch of different things. And maybe you don't use ChatGPT, maybe use a different thing, but it is a very handy tool for those that don't know it. And for some odd reason, if you don't know who God is, I would urge you to take a look at the Holy Bible and maybe start off in the Gospels, and you end up learning about the person of Jesus, and we'll get into that. But I wanted to be able to talk about these two things and how maybe they have their space where they can work. Maybe they're opposing. Maybe they can work in tandem. And I thought it was so relative till now for us to be able to discuss it. So somehow this keeps sticking. If I was to ask you, this dude go crazy, Lily. She told me. If I was to say, when I talk to you and I say and I reference the word tools, What is the tools that come to your mind? All right. What is your favorite tool? What is your favorite tool? Is it the jigsaw? Is it a hacksaw? Is it a hammer, a screwdriver? Whatever the thing is. What is your favorite tool? What's your favorite tool, y'all? Why y'all coming up with it? I just thought about this. I promise I didn't think about it. One of my favorite tools is clippers, but hey, that's just me. But inside of this, if I was to ask you, would you look to your favorite tool, which could be a hammer, a screwdriver, clippers, Swiss Army knife? Would you look to your favorite tool to lead you in your relationship life? If I was to ask you, would you take your favorite tool and look to it for financial coaching? Would you look to your favorite tool to wake you up in the morning? Would you look to your favorite tool to figure out how you should raise your children? Should you look to your tools? Would you look at your tools to find out if you're supposed to stay in this city or move to another one, right? Now, I get it. At this point, that sounds a little crazy to be able to say, why would I look at my hammer, this quote unquote dead tool that has no life to it, and look to it for guidance, for leadership? That sounds crazy until we look. I should have pulled this up. Until we look at a particular verse. I should have pulled this up, y'all. It sounds crazy until you look at a situation like this. Now, although this is not necessarily a tool, you will see the point in which I'm speaking to. Exodus 32, you will end up reading that at a moment where Moses was to be talking up on the mount to God, the children of Israel is left with leadership, which is Aaron. And throughout this, the people of Israel start to create this plan. They curate this plan. All right. Inside of their own intelligence, they curate this plan to say, hey, why don't we take all of our gold and our jewelry and let's create this calf and worship it? Now, mind you, why am I saying this? Because at this point, the word that I'm thinking about, I think, is inanimate. A thing that has no movement, no substance. And at this point, they take it and they worship it. All right. Now, in this case, when we look at idolatry, now you might be thinking, well, I'm not going to build up a golden calf. But maybe your idol is a car. Maybe it is your job. Maybe it is a tool or your tool set, your workbench, your work garage, your man cave, your what's the woman one? A she shed. Whatever the thing is, whatever the thing is, it seems crazy to go to these objects to worship them, to look for guidance. All right. It looks crazy. It looks crazy. So where am I going? If I'm telling you about God versus G.P.T. and I'm talking about tools, where am I going that I don't want you to worship the proverbial golden bull calf? Because at this point, if you end up reading, you're going to end up seeing that when Moses comes down, he plunders this golden calf. He's so upset. And what he ends up doing is having them grind it up and turning it into a powder, spreading it in the water and telling the same people to drink it. That's a whole... let me tell you, when I was writing these notes, I honestly think that I might end up doing this in a 3 to 4 part like thing, because I kept getting so many thoughts. And that is one, that God will take your idol and crush it, and sometimes make you ingest it. All right. So if we're talking about tools and idolatry in this case, and we're talking about, will it guide you? Is it okay to allow it to lead your life, and all of these things because of what you make that thing to be, not what it wants to be. A golden calf didn't whisper to the people. Your hammer, your screwdriver, your clippers didn't ask you to worship it. You chose to worship it. So at this point, now we must understand that no matter the tool and the use and the value that you put on it, it is still not the place to put God. Proverbs 3, a familiar couple verses that a lot of people know. It is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And it says this: trust in the screwdriver. No, I'm just playing. It says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Don't rely on your own intelligence. Know him in all of your paths, and he will keep your ways straight. All right. So now at this point, when we identify tools and how tools are to be used, not worshiped. Tools are meant to be used, not worshiped. I promise you, I didn't have that in my notes. Tools are meant for you to use, not for your tools to use you. All right. So why is this important? Is because we are seeing in this scripture that there has to be let me say this, because sometimes I can be so like, it's important for you, if you are a believer in God, it is important for you to trust in him with all of your heart. An issue that we run into a lot of times is that we trust in God for a specific amount of things, right? We take God and we say, I'll trust him to bless my food. I'll trust him to give me a word when I go to church so I can be spiritually fed. Yeah. Like, we trust God for certain things, right? I trust God for my eternal destination, my eternal salvation. I trust him for that. But when it comes to my temporal life, when it comes to the things that I do now, there are things that I trust him with on this with all my heart, but all my heart doesn't mean with all my life. The things that I do trust him in, I trust him. But the other elements of my life, they don't have any place for him. Or it's a little bit. It's not the same. But God is not a God that is okay with you not having him in all of your life. You trusting in him in all of your life. So at this point, we see that there is a urgency. There is an importance to us being able to trust him with all of our heart. Not only that, the second clause of this must be letting you know that there is a combative type of mindset, which it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not rely on your own intelligence. Just had a conversation with one of my friends. We were just talking about that inside of our lives, that when we look at why am I not trusting God with this, I can guarantee you is because there is a dependency on your intelligence. There is a trust that you have in the way in which you operate. And hey, I'm not here to judge you. If you're just saying at this point that, hey, I trust in me with all of my heart. Now with God, we working on that. I'm not judging you. I get it. I'm there too. But understand this is not excusable. It's not excusable. I don't know if y'all can see this fly. I'm just like, if I smack this fly, it's going to just tear my whole setup. So I'm not going to do it. But I hate flies, y'all. I hate flies. So understand that your intelligence can get in the way of your guidance. And I didn't write this in my notes, but I'm just going to say it. Do you not know that you can be your own idol? Do you not know that at times in your life, in times in my life, oh, y'all can't see it. Perfect. Thank you, Lily. You made me feel so much better. They're gonna be like, man, he got all these flies in his house, man. I mean, flies in the studio. Got to be nasty in there. It's really so clean. But do you not know that you can be your own idol? Do you know that there have been times in my life where I wanted to be my own God? I just say, hey, God, just move over real quick. I appreciate you warming up the seat, but I got it from here. And guess what? It has ended very, very bad. Very, very bad. But it's important to understand at this point that the intelligence that I have. Now, one would think that God would tell us to not lean on our own intelligence because, hey, you're stupid. And if you're stupid, why would you depend? No, it doesn't matter what your IQ is. Man's level of intelligence doesn't compare to the intelligence of God. So I don't care if you came from Harvard. I don't care if you came from, what was it called? Hillsman, whatever. I don't care where you came from. I don't care if you came from a community college. I don't care if you came from a private. I don't care where you came from. Your intelligence doesn't match the intelligence of God. The next thing is to say this: know him in all of your paths. In all of your paths. I don't have this wrote down. I just am compelled to say this. What could paths mean? Your relationship to him, your relationship to people, your physical condition, your mental condition, your financial decisions and condition, your educational path, your path of parenting, your path of entrepreneurship, your path of being single, your path of being a teenager, your path of being in your 20s, your path of being in your 30s, your path of being a grandparent. Whatever those paths are, know him and give him place into all of those things. And if we do that, he will keep us straight on our ways, which it says, and he will keep your ways straight. There got to be some dangers in crookedness. I don't have none of this stuff on my notes. I promise I never even thought about this. There must be some danger in a crooked life. There must be some dangers in a crooked life if God wants your path to be straight. I think, I'm not sure if they debunked it, but I'm thinking right now, just off the top of my head, that they always say that the fastest point from A to B is straight. The fastest point from A to B is straight. And here it is. I'm not saying that reinforces or that makes the word of God true. What I'm saying is it's interesting that the way for me to get to point B is for me to go straight. And what God is promising at this point is that if we keep him in all of our paths, that he will keep our ways straight. Now, the reason why this is important is because when I'm talking about G.P.T, right? I'm talking about G.P.T. I'm talking about the G.P.T part of it. What I have noticed through social media a lot of different times, and it's probably because of the kind of content that I watch. Now, I watch so much content on content creating. I watch so much content in regards of photography and, reels, styles, and all these different things. And one of the things that I run into is a lot of people are now using ChatGPT to do a lot of different things. One of the clips I seen, it was this guy that was like playing around saying that he was talking to a girl, and he was pretty much just going to ChatGPT, asking him what he should say and respond to certain type of text messages. And then I seen another person saying that, hey, I asked GPT, I prompted GPT to do this. And then I prompted GPT to do this. I told ChatGPT to take my financials, my income for the month, and I gave him my expenses. And I asked ChatGPT to create a business model for me, or an investment strategy, or a budget, whatever the thing is. And I have people that I know in my life that use ChatGPT to maneuver through a lot of situations. And a lot of times, if you start seeing these posts, you'll hear them say, like, I asked GPT, what's 10 ways to impress this person I'm attracted to? Hey, how should I word this email? How should I send this person a congratulatory message? How should I word X, Y, and Z? Whatever the thing is. And what happens is that the same way with these certain type of tools that we have, the more that you use it, the more you find value in it. And the more that you find value into something, especially in a tool like this, what happens is it becomes a part of your reflex, all right, or your reflexes. And I wanted to share this situation of how this particular discussion came about. And it's actually really, really personal. And I'm not really all the way sometimes into being able to talk a lot about some of the most transparent and vulnerable things, sometimes with other people that can involve a different party. But in this case, I will. All right. And so I had some different thoughts this past week when I was finishing out these books. And inside of this book that I read, shout out to Mr. Jason Wilson, the man, The Moment Demands. And he was speaking about this certain section where he talked about the son. All right. And in the son, he talked about his mom and his dad and how how he chose to serve them in different capacities as, sickness or age came upon them. And the person that I am and being committed to growing and developing and mastering myself, it made me think about my parents, which I don't have a extremely terrible relationship, but there has been things that have sometimes created a certain amount of friction. All right. And so as I'm hearing this book and I finish it and I'm going to my car while I'm finishing out my jog at the park, I'm starting to go to my car and I'm thinking, man, you know what? Like God, I sensed that God was telling me to reach out to my dad. And so I reached out to my dad and I started thinking, what should I say to my dad? Like, what should I text my dad? And I'm thinking like, man, well, let me go to ChatGPT and see what I should say to my dad. This is kind of the tone. This is kind of what I am thinking. And maybe they can just put it together and give me a great way of how to be able to deliver a message with precision and, with not a whole bunch of rambling. And so then I thought about it. I said, God, I'm sorry. I'm going to this, and I need to pray. And so then I text my dad, and I text him. I say, Dad, I love you, and I respect you, and you are enough. And he ends up texting me, right back. And when I do that, then at that point, I'm like, wow, like, okay, cool. Then God shows me to text my mom. And so then I'm like, okay, well, what should I say to my mom? So then I'm like, man, so then again, even though I just had this situation, I'm sitting here about to now go back into ChatGPT just as a reflex to go back to ChatGPT and say, hey, listen, this is the situation. This is what has been or whatever. And I'm ready to just tell it, and kind of vent in a way and say, hey, would you? And then I'm like, God, I just did it again. I'm sorry. At this point, I'm now trying to use technology where you are supposed to be at. So I text my mom. I say, "Good morning, Mom. Just thought about you. Just want to say I love you." And it's just simple, right? But at this point, my reflex is to ask Chat GPT. All right. And I'm saying all that to just say this, that it's important that we be careful on our dependency of our dependency on the guidance of technology. Technology, hammers, drills, power tools, all are great. They're all great. They all serve their purpose. But it's important for us to understand that there is a temptation to be dependent on these things where it can, if not careful, can start to edge God out. So when I think about this in the 21st century, and specifically 2025, when I say 21st century, in 2025, in this year, it made me look at it, and I had to literally, I wrote that as a question. I said, how did grandma and grandpa get through? They didn't have AI. So how did they keep a relationship with God? How did they get guidance from God? How was it that they were able to discern moments in which where God was telling them to stay and everybody was going, that they stayed? How was it that our grandparents understood when to go when everybody else was staying? And maybe for you, you might be like, okay, my grandparents is not a good example. Okay, well, let's go biblical. How was it that Abraham was able to end up being called the father of the faithful? And he didn't have this type of technology. He didn't have ChatGPT. How was Solomon able to be the wisest and wealthiest king that ever lived, and he didn't have ChatGPT? And the reason why I bring these up is because we start to at this point say, well, grandpa and grandma, because they didn't have technology like this, they were missing out on X, Y, and Z. But do you not know that the whole Bible was created full of successes and quote unquote failures, and they didn't have ChatGPT? Now, am I telling you to not use it? No, heaven forbid I'm telling you that. What I'm saying to you is that the sense of urgency, the dependency that you have on it, where if you are using it in a way, again, that is edging out God, that at this point it's dangerous, because a tool is meant to be a tool, not a God. How did Jesus manage to accomplish what the Father set out for him to do without ChatGPT? It was not a dependency on artificial intelligence. He was able to do such because he depended on the intelligence of God and not the intelligence of an artificial piece of technology. All right. And why is this important? Because a lot of times we don't pray. All right. A lot of times we don't pray. And because we are not praying, let me use it in this way. Because we don't stay in consistent communication with God, we end up through a reflex or a response of idolatry or betting on ourselves. What we end up doing is now trying to fill the void of God with technology. Now, this is a different way in which we're using it, but I can say that we try to feel, because we're not giving attention to God, what we try to do is that when we're not feeling at peace, when we're feeling lonely, when we don't feel like we got any joy, what do? We end up trying to be distracted through social media, doom scrolling, through TV shows. Again, nothing wrong with them. It's something wrong when you use it to edge out God. So I ask you this question. How often do you pray? How often do you pray? If I was to ask you, how often do you pray? If I was to, while I'm looking at this real quick. If I was to ask you, how often do you pray? And I was to say this, outside of you eating food and before you go to sleep, how often would you say you pray? Now, I'm not trying to meddle. I'm not trying to disturb the peace. But what I am asking is, if you are only, what I'm getting to is if you are only praying for your food, or you only think about prayer when it's food, what is that saying? What is that saying? If you are only praying because you're going to sleep, what is that saying? I'm not saying you're less of a believer. I'm not saying that you're more. Maybe some of us are not even praying when we eat. But why not? Is it because you have gotten to a place where you have become stale? Is it part because throughout the hardships of life, you think that prayer doesn't work? Is it possible that you might be dealing with things that you deal with in your life right now because you don't simply pray? If I was to ask you and I was to say, hey, listen, how much does prayer cost? For you to pray, how much does it cost? If we were to create a price and say, how much do you think would be fair? If you had to make a price, how much would be fair for you to be able to communicate directly to God, the creator of all the universe, creator of you and me, creator of this world, beautiful, no matter what nobody say, the person that gives you opportunity day after day, and he says, hey, you know what? Listen, how much, what is a fair price that God should charge you to pray? And the interesting thing is this, is that throughout our lives, what ends up happening is we pay for G.P.T. I can't remember how much I paid for. I think it's $10 or $20. What if God charged you a monthly subscription to pray to him? Would he be out of line? Would God be out of line if he charged you to talk to him? But the reality is this. Can you talk to the boss of your job that you work at? Could you talk to a person that you're inspired by at the highest level of whatever business that you run for free? Do you have access to a president of a country for free? But yet, we have an opportunity to consistently pray to God. But we don't. Would you pray more if you had to pay more? Would you pray if you had to pay? Would you pray if you had to pay? Is it possible that because it's free, you think that it's cheap? I'm about to get off that. I didn't have that stuff written on my notes. I'm sorry. It was a saying that people pay attention to what they pay their compensation to. I'm sorry. They pay attention to what they pay money to. Sorry. They pay attention to what they pay their money to. But if we can talk about, man, this is crazy. I didn't even think about this. If we're talking about utilizing tools and power tools, prayer is a power tool. Prayer gives us, as believers, instant access to the highest level of intelligence, the highest level of power known to history. Prayer is a power tool that a lot of times we forsake because in our own mind, we don't understand or comprehend how powerful it can be. And some of us fail to recognize that a lot of us are here only because of the power of prayer. And you thought that because you got the degree, that now you can pivot off of prayer. You thought now because you made 6 figures. You thought now because you can travel a little bit. You thought now because you got your body in shape. You thought now because you got a cool network of people. You thought now because you got your own spot in your own car that now you too good for prayer. But the reality is that prayer is a power tool that each one of us as believers should make sure that we utilize. I had put this on my notes. Now, this is something I did put on my notes. Prayer wasn't created to measure your religion, but rather to move you into a strong relationship of intimacy with the Father. Prayer wasn't created to measure your religion. Do you know how many times I've talked to a person and that used to go to church? And they say, man, I used to go to church all the time. Man, I used to go on this day and this day and this day. Man, and I was telling my cousin, I was telling him this line. It was so funny because I've just had it. And he said, one of my guys said, man, I used to go to church all the time, man. Yeah. My grandparents used to have a big old Bible at their house. And he said it with so much emphasis, like if you had a big Bible, that meant that you had like big love for God, or like you were like such a like bigger believer if you had like a really, really big sized Bible. And I'm like, where did we start thinking that the size of a Bible matters? But prayer is not something that was created to measure you in your religion. The size of a Bible wasn't created to prove that you know the word of God or that you love God and like you love the word because you got such a big Bible that costs you more because you just can't read tiny lettering. Your grandparents bought that because they don't like, they got eyesight problems or they got reading issues. They didn't get it because they love God more than the next person that got a smaller Bible. It's a preference thing. And sometimes, truth be told, an aesthetic thing. Talking about this a thin line between a sermon and a podcast. A lot of times in our lives, what ends up happening, let me turn to my other camera. A lot of times in life, what ends up happening is that we try to find these measurements of our religion. And I'm not saying that Christianity doesn't have a religious aspect of it, because it does. But it also has a relationship aspect. And why is this important? Is because a lot of times we like to try to, like, there's a pressure out there. I don't know if y'all can agree to this or not, but there is a pressure that is indirect. Nobody just says it, but it is a pressure that is indirect. And this pressure looks like this. Hey, Brother Johnson, would you come up and pray? And then at this point, the pressure indirectly for me that either Satan or that whatever, I'm just my nerves. And I start thinking I have to pray a certain type of way. I have to pray when I'm in front of people a certain type of way that I usually wouldn't do if I was just by myself. Like when I pray, I'm like, God, like, I'm gonna keep it real. Like when it comes to this social media channel, you really giving me the strength to do it, because I just ready to quit. But then when they asked me to come do it at church, oh Lord, I want you to bless my brothers and sisters, and Lord bless my. No, I don't even have to do lengthy prayers to try to prove that I'm religious. I don't have to use big words inside of my prayer for it to be meaning something. But yet and still, we have these things that sometimes we like to try to prove our power of and our religion. And a lot of times it's foolish. All right, it's foolish. Prayer should not be something
for you to prove. But prayer, I didn't have this in my notes. I promise to God, I'm just thinking about this. Prayer is not a tool that you use to prove something. Man, I'm almost dang near about to cry. Prayer is not something that you use to prove something. It's something that you use to move something. Wow. Prayer is not used to prove something. Prayer is used to move something. So many times in our lives, what we end up doing is trying to be transactional with God. And there's multiple situations that you can, there's a specific situation I'm thinking about a man that's praying and he's trying to, do all of this stuff and he's being self-righteous and saying, I'm glad I'm not like him. And there's another man beating on his chest and saying like, Lord, here I am. Proper prayer requires posture. And not just any posture, a posture of humility. When I was a kid, my uncle, man, shout out to my pastor, C.L. Johnson. My uncle, which is my pastor, he taught me something when I was a kid. And he was saying that, hey, Mikey, when you're praying, try and keep in your mindset that prayers have these 4 things. All right. These 4 things he used as an acronym, which is ACTS. All right. ACTS, ACTS, ACTS. And prayer, I'm not saying that this has to have it all the time. It just was a framework. Inside of prayer, inside of having humility, these are great components to have in prayer. 1, adoration. 2, confession. 3, thanksgiving. And 4, supplication. Now, in a different video, I might go over that, but this was always a great framework. And guess what? Inside of those things, you don't have to be lengthy. You don't have to use crazy words, but have a heart posture of humility. That will lead to you understanding how much God is worthy to be adored. Inside of that humility, you'll realize that you're nothing compared to him without him. Thanksgiving, understanding that every good and perfect gift comes from him. And supplication, making sure that you identify that there are things that you know that you need. Understanding what it is that he's able to supply you with. Those are 4 great proponents and frameworks of components of prayer. Sorry. But anyways, inside of this 21st century and beyond, there is a need for prayer. And some might even say more now than ever. Which brings me to some of my last points. I'm about to let y'all go, y'all. I'm about to let y'all go. Brings me to my last points. I got good news and I got bad news. Which one y'all want first? Good news or bad news? Because I can't see my chat, I'm going to give you the good news first. The good news is that God has a strong desire for your life. Whether or not you believe that you are worthy of such a desire from God, God desires to be in close relationship to you. He's not impressed by the length of your prayers. He's not impressed by the length of your fast. He's not impressed by how much money you can stack up. God is not impressed by how good you think you are to people. God is impressed or pleased by your faith inside of him. Sorry, y'all. I don't know if I got him or not, but that's just so annoying, man. God is not impressed. God is not impressed by how great I swatted that fly. Like, look at me, God. He's like, okay, cool. Where's your faith at, though? That's the good news, that God desires you. faulty, imperfect. But God desires you. He knows that there's some people that you shouldn't have been friends with. God still desires you. God knows that you gave your body up to people that you shouldn't have. God still desires you. God knows that you're taking your 10% and going and putting it somewhere else instead of bringing it to him. But God still desires you. He knows that you haven't been praying over your food or at night or throughout him. You haven't talked to him, but he still desires you. He knows that you have an addiction to this and you having a stronghold with this. He knows that you think that you got to turn to weed, alcohol, edibles. He knows that you think that you got to turn to porn or sex or overeating or food or attention and validation, but he still desires you. Now for the bad news. Is that Satan also does desire you too. That's just the truth. It's the bad news. That Satan doesn't care that you was in church Sunday. He still desires you. He doesn't care that you seen a person out there with a sign and you gave money. Satan still wants to do what he wants to do with you too. All right. And so understand this good news that God still desires you. Focus on that. And I hope that your desire is that you want him too. God has given us so many gifts. And the two that I wanted to highlight was prayer, which is us communicating to him. Okay? Us communicating to him. He has given us direct access to him through prayer. The other gift that I'm highlighting is his word, where he speaks to you. Now, most of the time, people want to just go around the word of God, man. I want to go around the word of God so many times. So many times I want to go in to God, just send me a confirmation, Lord, and all of this stuff. And Lord, let somebody come up to me and say this, or Lord, put a song on my radio or put something on TV that just shows it. Read the word. Read the word. Read the word. Read the word. Two mighty gifts, perfect gifts, the ability to communicate with him and the opportunity for us to hear what he has to say. My final thought, and I'm leaving here with this, 58 minutes. I'm almost at an hour, and this is just beautiful. My final thought is this, and those that have used ChatGPT is going to understand what it is that I'm saying when I say this. And if you don't use ChatGPT, just bear with me. My final thought is this. In a world where it's pressuring you, pressuring me, to depend solely on technology, I challenge you to choose prayer over prompts. In a world where it's pushing a pressure to depend solely on technology, I challenge you, I urge you to depend on prayer and not prompts. Let prayer be your reflex, not prompting. There are a lot of times where God is giving us spaces in our days and creating situations where he's saying, well, if I put this situation in there, then at this point, they'll think about me. And then you get the opportunity in the situation, and then at one point in one season in your life, you might have said, hey, this is where I'm going to pray. And then now what you did is you're seeking guidance through prompts, through ChatGPT. Don't try to make ChatGPT be the Holy Spirit. please don't allow ChatGPT to be a poor man's Holy Spirit. Artificial intelligence can't do what God can do for your life. You want to build your business out? You want to be able to have a healthy relationship? You want to break through these 6-figure, 7-figure thresholds? Well, don't build your business outside of God. Don't build your life outside of God. Find a way to allow him to show you how to use the tools that he has put here for you to use. That's what I got. If y'all like this content, y'all want more of it, I also am going to end up having a segment where I'll talk about how AI might be stifling your gift or your gifts, your talents, your creativity. But I'm gonna do that on a different show, obviously. But if there's anything that I can do, let me know. If you like this content, if you want more of it, I urge you to join my Patreon. At the very least, make sure that you share this content, like it, follow me. And if there's anything that I can do, if it's certain topics that y'all want, make sure that y'all just message me, and I'll make sure that I pray over it and go as I'm directed. And so I appreciate y'all for being on this for this hour with me. And this was incredible for me. I can't wait for my editor to see this, man. Shout out to you, KS, again. Boom. But I get with y'all, man. Stay faithful, my friend. Peace.